Welcome back to the Communication Mastery podcast with me, Mark Burlinson. In this season in 2026, we're going to spend some time looking back and replaying some of the episodes that some of you have asked about in your comments. And in between those, I'm going to be back with little snippets each week of helpful information that you can put into practice in your business, in your life, to help you grow your communication mastery. This week, I want to introduce to you a concept that I've used with a number of businesses, and it's very valuable once you've started to look at communication mastery and you've started to introduce the 7 communication styles to your team, particularly if you're the leader of the team or you're the executive team for the business. This is a tool or a method that you can use that really helps you to take embedding communication to a deeper level. And it's called the Miscommunication Audit. And this is where you take, I don't know, a week, or if a week is too much, maybe take 2 or 3 days, where you intentionally look for and capture and note every time that miscommunication or misunderstanding is taking away from your team's effectiveness, is interfering with your vision or your goals or the operation of your operation, your business. So it may be taking time to resolve misunderstandings, and you have to revisit something and go over something. Maybe you had a meeting and then a couple of days later it's clear that we didn't have a clear understanding coming out of that meeting of what we were working on. Or it may be that there's a miscommunication that actually interferes with your profit margin. Maybe the customer thought something was going to happen and now you've got to do something extra to make it work. Those kinds of things. Or maybe there's a relational capital issue within the team where you've got a couple of team members who are constantly just rubbing up against each other, having friction, having difficulty working together. Those kind of areas can really drain your effectiveness. They can take away from the efficiency of your team, and that really affects the bottom line, doesn't it? And so another area that I heard just the other week, actually, from one of my clients, is the whole area of management attention. Like their management team were finding that they were spending more time than they wanted to firefighting and fixing conflicts and working on things that had to be readdressed, that should have not had to be brought back into the picture for them to work through that. So when you start to capture all of those incidents, you'll be surprised how much miscommunication there is. A lot of my clients come to me because they realize that communication is not as strong as it needs to be. But then when they do this miscommunication audit, they realize, oh, wow, we really should have done this sooner. And how much more we can achieve by really embedding communication mastery into the day-to-day. Because this is never something that you want to just have a one-off workshop or a half-day training and tell everyone to communicate more. That kind of impact fades away very quickly. But when you embrace the understanding of all 7 communication styles, it really begins to bring that viewpoint, that lens, into the way you do everything as a team or as a business. So once you've started to list some of these areas, and you've got maybe a long list of different areas where miscommunication has been hindering what you're aiming for, then what you want to do is to begin to take that list and maybe divide it into categories. Some of the things I mentioned just now, is this just something that's taking time, where we're having to revisit things because we didn't make sure we'd communicated clearly in the first place? Or is it affecting the financials because we're having to add in extra work or rework? Or is it something where we've misunderstood the customer's requirements and therefore we haven't been getting good reviews? Those kinds of things. So putting it into categories, and it'll be different according to the business, but beginning to list some of those misunderstandings and those miscommunications in their specific categories helps you then to begin to work on what's needed to address those areas and to address those issues. Because once you've started to list the categories, you can start to do things like identifying which team members need more help. That's often an area that can make a great deal of difference to the effectiveness of your team. Because if you've got one or two team members who just need some more skill in communication, because miscommunication isn't a character issue typically, it's not a personality problem, it's actually just a lack of skill. And so we can train people. It's an issue you can fix once you identify it, but you need to be able to see who in our team needs more help to excel in communication rather than simply getting by. You can also look for the areas where misunderstandings get repeated, and then you can begin to look at why do those misunderstandings get repeated. It may be that you've got a team of maybe three people working together, but their communication styles are very different, and each of them is looking through the lens of their preferred style, and that's why the misunderstandings are creeping in. Once you begin to train them and help them to see each other's strengths, then you can turn those differences into an advantage for that team rather than a disadvantage. It becomes a plus with that team that they understand each other's differences better rather than an obstacle to their teamwork. You can also adjust the mechanisms of how your business operates. It may be that you're used to having some kind of stand-up meeting for everyone, but that doesn't suit the more thoughtful people. They would rather have a one-pager bullet point summary that they can then reflect on and then have the opportunity to respond, those kinds of things. You can tweak how you do things to take account of who is in the picture and also what the goals of that particular mechanism is, so that you get more effective communication in every step of the way. This is what I call embedding communication into the company culture rather than simply addressing individual issues on a sort of whack-a-mole basis. Um, Once we can embed communication awareness into every facet of your business, then you're really going to begin to see the fruit of investing in communication to make things work more smoothly, to bring out the best of all of your team, and not to have anybody overlooked or anybody overstretched. It'll be the way that departments interact will be affected by how they communicate and how you structure that communication. The way you build teams. I remember one business owner was talking to me just a few months ago, and he said these understandings of different communication styles, and particularly having the individual profiles of my team, helps me to ensure that I've got the right people in the right places doing the right things, rather than expecting someone to try to stretch to do something that I needed done, but they're not the best person to do it. And so it's given him great flexibility in the way he assigns his team. So the way we structure teams can really benefit from embedding communication awareness into those kinds of management decisions. Um, it also has a big bearing on if you're in a sales, business to customer kind of situation. Your salespeople will really benefit from being able to adapt to the different communication styles of your potential customers or clients. Again, I'm thinking of one particular guy. This was, I think, a home services company, but he said that right away after the workshop that we did, where we looked at the different intelligence categories of the communication styles, he could tell that one of these customers that he was on the phone with the very next day, they needed much more detail. That was one of the things that he'd taken away. And so rather than doing his normal pitch and following his sort of standard script that he'd grown into over months, years of working with that company, he switched and he gave a lot more detail and he closed a sale that he felt he would have lost otherwise. Those kind of adaptability skills only come when you're really embedding the awareness of all 7 styles into the culture of your team. Another area that can really benefit from embedding this is the way that managers lead their staff, because you can't do a one size fits all if you've got a team of more than one. Each person is different, and the way the person needs communication, needs information will vary. And so if you can make those kinds of connections If you've got a big team, you need to take all 7 communication styles into account in the way that you embed that into communication. You want to start with feelings and engage the folks who are feelings first, rather than simply jumping to the task in hand, or the challenge that needs to be fixed, or the strategy that we're going to operate. You can include all of those things, but only once you've engaged the emotive side as well. Otherwise, you've lost a great chunk of your team before you've even started. And of course, that is going to lead to miscommunication down the line. So miscommunication audit is a very valuable tool, because once you start to list out where the miscommunications are happening, once you begin to capture this is a communication issue, then you can apply your understanding to what do we do to fix it and where do we go from here. So I suppose the bottom line to finish up for today's episode would be this: communication mastery is a team sport, and you've got to understand all the players on the team and know how to bring out the best in each of them in order for the team to be a winning team. And so we can all grow our skills. Miscommunication is not generally an issue of ill will, or an issue of a bad personality. It's simply a matter of training. It's simply a matter of increasing our understanding, increasing our skills, growing our mastery, which is why I'm so glad that you are a listener to this podcast, because you clearly care about this. And of course, every team benefits from a good coach. And so if your team needs more help, be sure and let me know. I'd be glad to chat with you about any ways that you can develop the way that you're leading your team to be able to take advantage of all 7 communication styles and all of the understandings of communication mastery. So go to my website, markburlinson.com, use the contact form, send me a message. I'd love to hear from you. What resonated with you from this week's episode? Which areas will you be able to apply this week in your setting so that your team grows communication mastery and becomes more effective? I'll look forward to hearing from you, and we'll see you back here next week. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. It would mean a lot to me if you'd rate and review the podcast so it helps more listeners to find us. But also, would you give me your feedback on things you'd like to hear about in future episodes? And remember to share the episode with a friend if you see something that would benefit them as well. You can reach me with feedback through my website at markburlinson.com. Just click on the contact button and send me a message. I respond to everyone personally, and I really want to hear from you. So thank you again for listening, sharing, reviewing, and giving me your feedback.